Get ready to uncover truths and reality of today's politics. Here's your host, Lori Mills.
Have you visited the MAGA Mall yet to get your Trump merchandise? Make sure to use promo code Kelly when placing your orders. If you're not aware, we are having a Trumptilla in Oxnard's Channel Islands Harbor on June 30th. The boat will be leaving the dock at 1 o'clock, and we will be the lead boat on the Scarlet Bell, which is an old paddle ship. So if you would like to come, please make sure to go to uncoverkelly.com, click on events, and buy your tickets. They are selling out. Welcome to another edition of Uncover California. This morning I was listening to A.G. Garland doing congressional testimony, and there was something that was just very blatant. He was wondering why the American people don't trust the justice system. And I'm going to remind everybody, in the Trump case, we had Biden's number 3 from the DOJ move over to a state case. That statute of limitations had run out. Not only that, we had Mark Pomerantz plead the fifth when asked from the Biden White House if he had been talking to Bragg. He pled the fifth. We've had unequal justice under the law. It's been unacceptable. We've got Hamas protesters obstructing the Congress, and yet we've got J6ers being arrested every day for nonviolent crimes and facing swatting. Why doesn't that happen to the other side? You want to know why we don't trust you? Because you're not trustworthy. And for those of you that call Donald Trump a felon, I want to remind you of something. Our forefathers were felons against a tyrannical king. And unfortunately, that's where America's at today. We will not be silent. We will stand strong. And today I've got two very special guests. A few months ago, I had Siaka Massaquoi on, who is facing criminal persecution. And then our second guest is going to be another one, Daniel Goodwyn, both for January 6th, nonviolent offenders that did not spend hardly any time in the Capitol. And I'm talking under 2 minutes. And yet they have faced the full force of the law, the full force of FBI raids, guns in their faces, in front of children. So let's get an update on what's happening with Siaka and his case. Siaka Massaquoi, welcome back to Uncover California.
Hey, what's going on, Lori? It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. The last time you were on the show, your wife was getting ready to have a baby, and
yeah,
your baby's here.
Yes, little Xavier X.
Yeah, we're
house.
Yeah, we're absolutely in love with him. You know, it's funny. I weaseled my way into being on FaceTime during the birth. I wasn't in the room, but I was with the grandmas, and it was just absolutely fascinating. Siaka, you've been just battling, and if anybody wants to see his story, please go back and watch our previous episode. Siaka, can you give us an update on your case?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me back on, Lori. It's always awesome to be here and talk to you. And thank you for all your support. I mean, what people may not know about you, you're doing a show, but we're friends. You, like you said, you were there at the birth of my child, to a certain extent, and you really care. So, with that, let's go forward and talk about what's going on with the case. So, as we see what's going on with Trump and everything else, it seems like the other side is the best way I could say it is like panicking to a certain extent. They're trying to grab hold really tight, right? And so right now with my case, it seems like stuff kind of going in that direction. I'm not 100% sure, but just the moves are very new, and I guess a lot of this whole thing we're seeing is new. So we filed our motion to dismiss based on selective prosecution, and within that, we put. You had mentioned the Hamas protesters. You mentioned how they shut down Congress, And we also we brought in the Kavanaugh case, a very underutilized resource, which is a lot of the same things happened, right? That happened with a lot of J6ers. But it seems like only J6ers are the ones that FBI is going after, that raids have been on their house, like myself. And when we looked at the details for with the Hamas protesters and the Kavanaugh case, it was probably around 15 to 20 people that were held that day and given something around $50 tickets and then sent home. Didn't go through the terror that myself and many others have gone through. So we found that the government has 14 days to respond. Within that, we mentioned there was this is all public, so people can go to the D.C. Circuit Court and see what we filed. But within that, we also use the words of Joe Biden. Joe Biden, on his infamous Red Man speech, he pointed out the death knell to MAGA, the fact that he was focusing on taking MAGA supporters out and Trump out. We know that then about a few days or weeks later, there was the DOJ decided to make a statement that they're going after everyone, which they were already doing, but they made a statement loud to everyone. And in their own words, they themselves were presenting that they were going to selectively prosecute individuals. So, one of the great angles that is on our case is there's a Frederick Douglass ruling, which stated that you cannot go after one group and not the other for the same crimes if they commit that. And so that ruling just passed in August of last year. And what we're able to do now is bring that up. And in a sense, the words of the president himself said that you're going after people selectively. And the DOJ said they're going after people selectively. And so we're hoping that that ruling that came down from the appellate court in D.C., which was a surprise to my lawyer and many others, will be ruled justly and seen, hey, you can't do that just based on this rule at all, and hopefully that it can be ruled under the appellate law, and this can help a lot of people, a lot of other J6ers, a lot of innocent, nonviolent people that did not know, like myself, did not know the area was restricted. My case, where an officer even spoke to me, it was just to leave that foyer, that archway I was standing in for 71 seconds, and no other police
seconds.
Yep, 71 seconds.
I just emphasize that. He stood in the threshold of the Capitol for 71 seconds, was instructed to leave, and he got people to leave. And now you're,
yes.
But go on.
And
sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. And even right after, as I'm walking out, and there was another line of cops that I talked to, I was talking at, I guess, because they didn't respond to me. They didn't say anything to me or nothing. So there was the police presence that I encountered, only one person told me to leave. In that area, he told me to leave. I did leave. And that's on video. And I know they have it on CCTV. So it's one of those things that we know what this is. We've seen the results of what selective prosecution looks like when it comes to Trump's cases, and how the people, to me, it gives me hope, because the people are waking up in a way where they're standing for what is true and what is right. We saw $200 million in 3 days for Trump. I believe that I've talked to people. I was just at the park this morning. I ran into a guy from my old theater company who never really espoused being a conservative, and he's telling me today, I'm a Republican all the way. And I'm like, wow. Family members that didn't stop talking to me after the raid in 2020 for about a year and a half, to now being like, I cannot vote for Joe Biden. You know how I feel about Trump, but I cannot vote Joe Biden. You see what's going on here. So, I really think it's moving in a very different direction. The very interesting point is, again, this is all public, is that after we filed our motion, the government has 14 days. They decided to offer a plea deal, which was very interesting. There are information in there that we're asking for the government to provide, and by law they should. And I see no reason why they wouldn't. I hope they do, just so that we can. The way I look at it, if we are all that dangerous, there's nothing for them to hide from us in order to be able to present our own case. And also a little news for some of the people that have been following this since I've been raided, and know that my computer and laptop and journals and my other two MAGA hats are still in their possession. we're going to file a petition because if they're holding on to it as evidence, then based on Brady, they're supposed to hand that over so that we can see it and be able to defend myself. So there's a few things that we have not received that we requested to receive, along with our filing to dismiss. And now we're just basically, we have about 2 weeks to see what the government says. And I would ask everyone, let's pray that their hearts are warmed, they're not hardened anymore, and the scales are lifted, because everything that's been going on has to be God's hand, because just to be able to defend myself right now has been with the prayers and help from so many out there that I don't know. And I always like to say we're going all the way with this. I don't believe in my heart of hearts that I committed a crime. If I was there and someone told me this was a crime, I would have left. And so I'm, to me, fighting for the truth, my family's truth, the legacy of my name and my now son's name. So I would just hope that everyone, people out there can spread the word, and if they can help support this, because it's going to cost, and it has cost so far, but it's part of the fight we're in, as we see with Trump.
Well, and we've seen that even in the Trump case in New York. They withheld Brady evidence from him. They gagged the defendant, which is completely unconstitutional. Not only that, they wouldn't even say what the underlying crime was and gave the jury a multiple choice. That's never happened in history. For anybody to say that these prosecutions are not persecutions, I pray in the name of Jesus Christ that the blinders fall off their eyes. Because I believe a lot of this is spiritual. I believe the blindness is spiritual.
Yeah, all of it is. I mean, we've lived in a culture for a long time, and I was in the center of the humanist secular world at one point in my life, and everything. And I kind of like to say it's, there's a lot of people that have been frustrated after the verdict that wanted nothing to do with Trump and nothing to do with Republicans, that are now upset, because I think truth is just true.
Right.
And people can, at the end of the day, see what's going on, when it's thrown in their face too much. Like, it's hard to run cover when this is the biggest case going on in our country's history, and people now have to look into it and go, wait, what is this really about? And for those who are still like, yeah, we got him and all that, they don't understand the other countries that they are able to do this. They kill. Their final line is to kill their opposition. That means your other fellow citizens, and it's wild.
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, this goes back 8 years. I think that's why people like me and you that support the president, we saw the plan laid out in Andy's office. We saw the text messages. He's not ever going to be president, right? No, we'll stop him. We saw that Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier through an attorney, Perkins Coie, to a foreign agent for a dossier made up in a bar over beers. And now those experts, and let's not forget the sisters who began leaking to the media, John Brennan, James Clapper, they are now the experts on CNN and MSNBC. And so the people that are blind to these lies, they're getting their information from the very people, and I include you, Andrew Weissman, that persecuted Trump 8 years ago. And then we had the Ukraine thing and the impeachment, where we saw President Trump impeached because Biden, basically, they were laundering money through Ukraine, and I am not convinced they're not doing it now. What do you say to people that call MAGA a cult?
Well, I say, first off, they don't understand, because in my experience, majority of MAGA are Christians.
Right.
So it would be going against our faith to worship any one man here on earth. The only man that we worship is Jesus Christ. Amen. So it's a clear understanding that they don't get it, and they're just going off what they're told. So I tell them right off the bat, much like Marjorie Taylor Greene did yesterday, where they're like, look, we don't worship this guy. We worship Jesus Christ. Jesus is truth. And there's a true thing that's happening, whether you like Trump or not. The true thing that's happening leads to what happened in Germany, leads to what happened in China, and the great the Great Reset, yeah. When that's what they're doing. Sorry, that's what they're trying to do in 2030. But when you had the Mao Revolution, when you had the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, when they start to come after people like this and they start to weaponize the legal system, this is exactly why our founders left where they left, because and wrote what they wrote about the judges specifically, because in England, so many of the judges were ruling as if they were mini kings. And so we're
Right.
seeing these things like there's nothing new under the sun. It's they to say we're evolving and we've evolved from apes. It's like, wait a minute, why are we doing the same thing that's been going on since human history has been recorded when it comes to corruption and just overreaching policies of the government, over heavy-handed reaching of the government. Like to me, it tells you the genius of our founders, that they went and they studied history and they went through it with a biblical lens to be able to codify the freedoms of the most people. Like they knew we weren't perfect even where we started, but in the writing the document the way it is, that it was going to get us there, much like the Bible. You see,
Right.
Old Testament, they started hard. And as we get further along the way, it's like, this is how we can then get to a place of love. And this is how we can get to a place of truly love, a God's love, agape love, not this love is love, which is really lust is love that this culture has been pushing on us. So, I believe there's really a huge switch going on, a huge turn, I should say, not switch, a huge turn going on, where people are really turning away from worldly things and worldly ideas. And even if they may not know it, they're turning towards Christ. They're turning towards, being higher than anything man can create. So you start to see that in people, even with their frustration, right? When you're down, that's usually when people start to experience God and Christ more than when they're on top of the world and there's nothing to lose, And so now,
Exactly.
when their stomach starts to hurt, you start to reach out to more than the promises of man. And as hard as a lot of this has been for myself and even others that have gone through worse, I think it's building for something great and something even better than we can ever imagine.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I myself have to confess and apologize to the people that are out there that are blinded by the delusion. I have said bad words to you. I have gotten
Right?
angry at you. And that is not what God wants. And
No.
so I repent of that. And I'm just going to let you guys know out there right now, you're being lied to. You're
Right.
being lied to. Do your due diligence. Stop just responding with, you're a maggot or you're in a cult. Start doing your due diligence. If what we're saying isn't true, prove it.
Well,
Prove it.
exactly.
I believe we're facing a color revolution right now, and we saw it in 2022 with the intel agents, same intel agents from 2016, mind you, Brennan and Clapper, stating that Hunter's laptop isn't real, which has been submitted into evidence today in Hunter Biden's trial for a gun charge.
Right,
I
2020.
just, yeah. So I don't know what it takes. And again, why I think it's a spiritual delusion for people to realize after 8 years, how many times have these people lied to you?
Well, one thing I found out that, and I've been finding out recently, especially in the last week, Pastor Rob always likes to say, people are the opportunity, not the enemy. And I think that, if we're using Ephesians 6, verse 10, the armor of God. First part is we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So as I've been having some conversations with people back and forth, and it's on Twitter and all that, and they'll come in hard, and then they'll toss out Jesus, and I'm like, wait, are you a Christian? They're like, no, and it's like, okay, then why should I listen to you? And I think for us, it's like, we have to start talking from our standard, not from their standard. And you can bring them over as we're talking from that. It's not our standard to point and go, haha, we have, you don't. It's because that's how it works the other way. Our standard is, hey, like you said, in a different way, you've been lied to. Hey, let me show you the truth. There's a cliff over there. There's a bear in the backyard. Don't go that way. And as they keep fighting and fighting, usually I find ask questions to get them further down the road, because usually they start at the offended space. You're an enemy with ideas, where it's like we have to get them to then start to see us and talking from our place that no, we just have ideas. And you can't stand up to our ideas, and we'll work through. Why do I know? Because I'll ask you questions about where you actually stand. Not where you toss out your commercial response to the Bible and commercial response to Trump. You're in a cult. That's just a commercial response that MSNBC's been saying for the last 8 years. So doesn't say anything, right? So you debunk the cult thing by saying, oh, well, no, I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus Christ only. I don't follow Trump like that. I follow Jesus Christ.
Right.
So already you throw that out the window, and you're able to start to get yourself where you're bringing them over to where, you're understanding, as opposed to try to convince them who you're not, right? Just talk and move who you are.
Right. And what I actually got into it with a guy last night, and I tried to have a logical conversation with him on Twitter. And, the next thing, you support this guy that cheated on his wife and was a rapist and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I challenge anybody that believes the narrative that Trump raped E.J. Carroll. I want you to go into a crowded department store with a woman, go into the dressing room and have her scream rape. And let's see what happens. And we have to remember, she thought rape was sexy and named her cat Vagina. So the credibility there is stupid as well. I mean, historically, what we're seeing with these persecutions is disgusting.
Well, they brought it back up, and not only did they bring it back up, but they created a law. There was I forget the legislator who pushed this law in order to bring this case back up. Then about months later, he just got not convicted, but he got accused of raping somebody. So it's funny how it works, right? Just kind of like your Michael was it Avenatti, who was talking all this crap about Me Too. Avenatti, and he's talking all this crap, and you find out, there goes sexual assault. So we see the lawfare, but yet just like Satan. Just like Satan, when in his pride, he had everything, but he didn't. He wanted more. The pride we're seeing from your Alvin Bragg, the pride you're seeing from Fonnie Willis, or Williams, or was it Willis? Willis, sorry. The pride you're seeing from that. It's when you say you feel like it's spiritual. Of course, I think it's 100% spiritual. We've been in a pride society in a way for a long time, and I don't mean the gay celebration. I mean the fact that it's all about you first, right? So we've been in that space, and you and your luxury and your first, I would say. And so we've seen that happen as we watch these people who have been running high on the hog for, Joe Biden's almost 80. He's been running high on the hog for a long time. It's going to come crashing down one way or another. And I think we're just in the middle of it right now, and happen to be the generation that is witnessing it. That when my son grows up, they'll read about this going, wow, how did people not see it? Well, unfortunately, we're human beings full of, we can't trust our heart. And yet the world's telling us everywhere we look is to trust your heart. And your heart can be manipulated, much like Eve in the garden.
Right. And, it's crazy, too. I just saw a video of the new El Salvadorian president with Don Trump Jr., and he's like, you've cleaned up your country. This is amazing. Although I think Joe let a lot of their criminals into our country. But the president of El Salvador goes, we don't prosecute our political opponents. And that's exactly what's happened here. Yeah. And the danger of it. And I think what the left doesn't understand is if this precedent is set, they're coming after you too.
Yep.
This is not exclusive to MAGA. This is going to be new precedent. Anytime a government wants to come after you, they can. This is not okay.
Can I put on my conspiracy theory hat? And I know some will say, you're already wearing one, but not this.
Well, real quick, last night I actually said, my tinfoil hat, I don't know what to do with it because everything that I've come up with comes true. So go on with your tinfoil hat.
No, that's called like a spoiler alert, right?
Sorry.
So I'm looking around, and like so many things in his last 4 years just seem so scripted, and it makes me wonder. I was listening to Ivan Rankin a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about they set it up. We're gonna do the same thing. The difference is we have more red states with red DAs than they have blue states with blue DAs.
Deep state target list.
I mean, and then I started to think to myself, I'm like, whoa, man, what if this is part of the whole kind of down the road thing? Like, come up with Trump with these charges so that it sets a precedent. So when he does win, which I believe he's going to win in 2024, that when he wins, then the left can't complain because they just did this. They just saw it. But the difference is, it's kind of what I like to say. It's like the left has a flash with bad ideas. We have great ideas with little flash so the people don't know we're doing it. Now on the other side, the left right now for this type of scenario, they've done it already. So people are now established. They got normalized it so that on the other side, when it starts to happen, it's going to be harder to cry. They will cry, and a lot of them will, and that'll be part of MSNBC and CNN's job is to run cover as they do, and Stephen Colbert and all these guys. But the average people, the people that are turning around, Virginia is statistically tied right now, 47-47. These places that Biden won by 10 points, black voters are coming in droves, and they're hitting about 27% after Trump only had 9 in 2020. So in 4 years, look at that jump. So I think we're in a great spot. We don't want to let off the gas. We want to continue with prayers. Again, prayers first, and then with action second, right? We want to keep moving so we can get across the finish line. This is not just like, oh, man, $200 million in 3 days. We'll see you later. I just saw the Wisconsin AG filed criminal charges against lawyers that questioned the 2020 election. So these people are still coming after individuals that decide to question their authority, these people authorities. That is inherently anti-American, guys. So
Right.
what they did, and I think it's really interesting, they made him a sympathetic figure after 8 years of making him the antithesis of the bad guy in every action movie, but what his celebrity now will carry things to the next level. So it continues to tell me that as conservatives, as Republicans, we need to be out there in the public eye. We need to be visible in the community. We need to be around that Bronx visit. When they're talking about the first time a presidential candidates came in ever, it tells me, it reminds me of my run in 2022. People were surprised I was even coming and knocking on the door here in North Hollywood. So just imagine if we have our politicians going to these areas that are not normally where we go. It's going to change the game, and people are ready for it. People are ready. They see what's going on. You see these poor communities that they always like to talk about, the black and brown communities. People are getting murdered in the streets. Like, they can't get jobs. Right now they're seeing illegal aliens, illegal people crossing that commit crimes come in and get paid for it. So
Yep.
they see that's not wrong. So it tells me they're looking for an answer. If you have the answer, if you believe you have the answer, it's up to you to then go there, i.e. the Republican Party, i.e. the GOP, not just sitting back and going, well, we have truth, and then I don't understand why they don't get it. Well, they don't get it because they're marketed the other thing every aspect of their life. We have to push through that. Your guys like Scott Preston do amazing things. Yeah, we got to go to where the people are. Much like what did Jesus do? He walked all over the area there in Jerusalem and Judah in order to get to the people. So why would we not kind of do the same here, Christian? So let's get out there, make sure we get everyone out there to vote, because it's a numbers game. They're going to use everything to get you not to show up to vote. They're not gonna like if it goes to the furthest thing, and I pray to God this doesn't happen, where something happens, they want to suspend the election. But as of right now, they're trying to interfere in your will just to show up. And conservatives, please, for the love of God, you wave the flags and you say you love this country. There is no excuse. We should be at 80%, 80 to 90% to show up, and then we can say there's cheating going on. Then we can say the other things. But if we're only showing up at like 25 to maybe 40%, we're going to lose every time. It's a numbers game, guys. Show up, show up, show up.
Okay, so Siaka, we're getting ready to wrap up. What is next in your case?
Well, like I said earlier, we are waiting to see what the government responds in a couple weeks. And, like I said multiple times, I said to you on a show, I said at church recently, I said on multiple interviews, I'm not pleading anything. I don't believe I did anything wrong. I don't believe I committed a crime. So I cannot, within good conscience, say that I did, regardless of what they offer. And so that's where we're at. That's really just where we're at. We're going to go till we have to go in front of a judge. And plead our case. And I think, again, with the ability to get to this level, because so many people haven't had the means to be able to stand up and truly fight all the way. This is just God, because I'm not a rich man. I'm not I've been struggling the last 3 years because I was canceled from Hollywood. So the fact that God has been providing just to stand in just this fight, let alone the other things that in my life that he's been literally taking care of, it tells me that I have to be true to this path. I have to obey. I have to keep going. He didn't have people help me just so I can say I lied to get out of trouble from the government.
Okay. So tell people, though, where do they go to donate to you? Because people, you have to understand, these cases are expensive. This prosecution is trying to bury these people financially. And that's why a lot of these J6ers are pleading out, guilty to things that they didn't do. Where can they donate to you, Siaka?
Well, it's simple. If you just go to defendsiaka.com, that's defend, SIAKA.com. That'll take you to our Gifts and Go page, but also can take you to my website, siakamassaquoi.us. There you'll see videos of my interviews. You'll see the comedy stuff that I've been involved in and
Dark
my acting stuff. Black Jeremy.
Black Jeremy. Okay, I got it confused. Oh my gosh, good. I'm horrible. Now I gotta buy a razor.
Yeah, you gotta buy a razor.
That could be a new skit for you.
Dark Brandon, that's actually pretty funny. That's actually really funny. Now I'm trying to think about it.
Yeah, let's see where that goes. Okay, Lord, thanks for that idea. Funny. That wasn't from me at all. So real quick also, where can people find you on social media? Yeah.
You find me at Instagram at Siaka_Massaquoi. Remember, that's Siaka, SIAKA_MASSAQUOI. On X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at _Siaka. So please come follow me. Let's chat. Follow the journey. Go to the webpage so you can keep track of what's going on. And again, guys, your prayers, I can't tell you enough. And I'm a new Christian. I've only been a Christian for about 2.5 years. I'm seeing the prayers and how they work. So it's real. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Siaka, for coming on. I love you, Shar and Baby X. More than anything. And Tish is in the background over there waving her arms up. Yeah. So Godmother Tish is in the room.
Yes.
But anyways, we love you so much, and we'll be talking soon. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much for having me. Love you guys.
I love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the MAGA Mall. We have the largest selection of the finest quality MAGA caps and Trump caps that are made. We have over 250 hats and 1,000 different products in 28 product categories. All the caps are made from premium cotton twill. Everything on them is embroidered. As a matter of fact, in the last election cycle, we donated over 45,000 caps to Trump-endorsed candidates and conservative causes all the way across America. And you can buy any of our products by going to our website. It's at themagamall.com, like on the sign over here, and use promo code CALI, and that's for Uncover California. That will get you a 10% discount off of all of our products and also help this worthy cause. And remember, it's always a MAGA day at the MAGA Mall.
Raise a glass to patriotism with Republican Red Wine, our new sponsor. The perfect choice for patriotic Americans who want to make a statement with every sip. Let your love of country shine through with each delicious pour of this bold, flavorful wine. Enjoy our one-of-a-kind limited edition labels that are sure to become a conversation piece. Join us in celebrating America and all that makes it great with Republican Red. Use promo code CALI for up to 15% off. Welcome back to Uncover California. We are going to stick with these political persecutions today. Our next guest is Daniel Goodwyn, who spent 31 seconds in the Capitol. 31 seconds being persecuted now. He worked with some friends on a film that every person should see. It was featured on Tucker Carlson. And again, it should be the #1 movie in America. Let's go ahead and roll this clip. And afterwards, we'll bring Daniel in.
January 6th, 2021, Washington, D.C. An event that has been reported on more than any other in modern history.
We have hundreds of thousands of people here, and I just want them to be recognized by the fake news media. Turn your cameras, please, and show what's really happening out here.
It does look like we're going to have an ad hoc march stepping off here.
Despite excessive coverage, many details about the timeline of events that day remain unknown to the public. Understanding what actually happened on January 6th without bias and with as much context as possible is extremely difficult.
I need the less than lethal team positioned above me to identify the agitators and start deploying.
Let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here. This is incredible.
Many of us still do not know the names of those who were killed at the Capitol and the causes of their deaths. This video seeks to create a thorough and truthful timeline of the events of January 6th.
We are going to get overrun on the steps of the Capitol right now.
Truth, not agenda, is the motivation for this timeline. January 6th, a true timeline. Premieres New Year's Day, 2024.
Wow, 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 wow. Daniel Goodwyn, I can't thank you enough for collaborating and working on this film. Before January 6th, what did you do for a living?
Well, I was basically doing citizen journalism. I was also helping organize free speech rallies. I did one in San Francisco, one in DC, one in Miami. And so I was doing, Stop the Steal. I was doing, medical freedom rally coverage, things like that.
The things that the left didn't like. So
Exactly.
So, you went to J6. Did you go to J6 to overturn the government, or did you go to J6 to let your voice be heard or document what was going on? What was your reason for being there?
Yeah, for sure. I was there to let my voice be heard and to document what was going on. I wanted to be able to record how big the crowds were, because the fake news kept lying about how many people were there to support Trump. And of course, I wanted to support Trump. But Trump wasn't there to overturn anything either. We were just trying to follow the lawful process to look into the fraud that happened. And that's why Ted Cruz and Paul Gosar were actually speaking with their objections. And they were going to hear that. But once the Fed entrapment scheme happened, they all decided to just move forward with the fraud and not look at the actual evidence.
That's one of the things that I was complaining about, because when we all watched it from our televisions, I was supposed to go to J6 to the protest, and for some reason I didn't go. And I thank the Lord every day I didn't go, because I'm like, I could be destroyed just like your life has been destroyed in so many ways. Although you're fighting and God's got you, brother, so you hang tight. The one thing I would like to say is we wanted to see the debate on the floor that day. We all wanted to see how our constitutional process works. And to the Democrats that say, oh, they're election deniers and these senators, heck, they do it all the time. We saw it with Bush and Gore. We saw it with Hillary. There's always objections to the Electoral College, and there's also always alternate electors. So for them to say that this was like a one-up thing and nobody's ever done it is, excuse my language, Lord forgive me, bullshit. So tell me about your time at the Capitol. You were at this protest and you're documenting everything that's going on. Tell me what happened.
Well, Nancy Pelosi is still an election denier about 2016 to this day. But yeah, so
Correct.
I walked up to the Capitol, just meandering through a crowd of people that were milling about. And I meandered through an open door where there was a bunch of police already around, not stopping anyone from going in. So I didn't feel like I was doing anything criminal. I didn't hide my face. I said my full name on camera when I saw my friend there. But, the police had told me to leave once I actually came inside. So that was the criminal act of me that day, was that I waited a few seconds before actually leaving the building. So that was worthy of 2 months in prison, according to Reggie Walton, the D.C. District Court judge.
Now, weren't they at some point trying to get more time on you for like 20 years in prison?
Yeah, my original charges were 4 misdemeanors, and that's when I was in jail pre-trial for 3 weeks under solitary confinement. While I was there, they added the 1512 felony obstruction charge, the same one that Trump has and about 300 people have. It's in the Supreme Court right now, and that particular charge will be ruled on by the end of the month.
And did they drop that charge against you?
They dropped that charge and 3 other misdemeanors, leaving just the 1 entering remaining when I took a plea agreement.
And why did you feel you needed to take a plea agreement?
Well, I definitely didn't want to have to face a biased jury in D.C. That would convict me regardless of the facts and then be facing 20 years. So I decided to just agree to the 1 low charge, which I felt like I could somewhat reasonably say that I was actually guilty of, just because the cops told me to leave and it was just for a few seconds. But
what do you say to the Democrats and the left that now will say, oh my gosh, all these people are pleading guilty anyway? Because I know a lot of people have done it for financial reasons.
Well, I don't know about financial reasons, but I would say for the most part, people are pleading guilty under duress because they're actually very overcharged, and they're pleading guilty to get rid of a bunch of charges. They're pleading to 1 lower charge that they're not even guilty of. In my case,
right.
I actually was in there, and I actually did stay after he told me to leave, even though it was only for a few seconds. A lot of these people, they're just being coerced. And even in the Proud Boys trial, Adriana DiCiaccio was intimidated that she couldn't testify as a witness for Ethan Nordine, because if she did, they would go after her. And the feds were like, we wouldn't want anything to happen to your son. They're literally intimidating witnesses, which is a total crime. It's actually the crime that they charged me with, a felony 1512 charge. But do the feds get charged with this? No, they do not. Just us, even though we didn't do it.
Okay, so what I'd like to do right now, if it's okay with you, is you had sent me some footage. We know that there were a lot of federal agents involved this day, I think agitating the crowd, and there was also Antifa there. So I want to have our tech go ahead and roll that clip if we can. Give us a second, and then I want to talk about that. So what we're seeing here is Antifa changing into Trump gear in the trees.
Yeah, these guys haven't actually been identified, so they really seem like they're probably Antifa or Fed attitude. But really, it's hard to say because we don't know who they are.
Okay.
But you hear there, they said, delete that. Okay, so what are you trying to hide?
Yeah, what are they trying to hide?
That day.
Why are you letting this happen? Why haven't you called for backup? Where is your backup? This is our damn Capitol building, and y'all are letting it get destroyed on your watch. What's wrong here? Call for backup. Get some help down here.
Here you can see even the crowd was suspecting these people at the front of being Antifa. That's people live there saying Antifa.
Yeah. Antifa's breaking the window is what they're screaming.
Yep. And I think some of those people breaking those windows still haven't been identified.
So this is a different angle?
Yep, this is from above, looking down.
I don't see anybody waving fists. I don't see anybody throwing rocks. I don't see anybody starting fires.
Right. just the agitators up there at the front. When everyone else...
And he's
chanting,
flipping off the crowd.
We will make a path dead ass. Like, we don't want...
This guy recording, John Sullivan, he is Antifa from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and BLM.
Yeah, both.
And notice that there were police there that got out of the way for them to break the windows.
Very interesting that the police would be following directives of Antifa. Prior to the first shooting,
murder. And look at all the police. Look at all the police there. There is no reason she should have been shot. She was murdered. They murdered Ashley Babbitt. They murdered Roseanne Boylan. Unbelievable. It just angers me so much. So from your perspective, being there, did you see agitators? Did you see people that you could suspect to be federal agents?
Me personally, no. I only, have experience with what I reviewed in the footage after the fact. So definitely there were agitators, and definitely there were federal agents, but I didn't see them specifically that day.
Okay, so when you were arrested, what was your experience? Did you end up with 15 guns in your face and a SWAT team? Tell me about it.
Pre-dawn raid led by the FBI Counterterrorism Task Force. They swatted us. They put everyone in the house in shackles, even though I was the only one from D.C. at the house. I was visiting my parents' house in Texas at the time. And the only one who wasn't shackled is the last one out the door, my mom. And, they put me in a mask and handcuffed me and carried me away to county jail. They were pointing guns. They had a medieval-style battering ram. The guns had lasers on them. It was a big show of force.
And you were a non-violent offender. Non-violent.
That's right.
Now,
no violence
said
even
that
alleged.
Right. And they threw you in solitary confinement?
Yeah, for 3 weeks, and they blamed that on COVID, quarantine, lockdown. It would be considered torture according to the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, imagine this, you guys. This is a non-violent offender in solitary confinement. Again, it is torture. And this is the way that terrorists are treated. And here you are, a non-violent offender, and this is what they did to you. I'm sorry, it ticks me off. And I do think
frankly, we shouldn't even treat terrorists that way, but they certainly shouldn't be treating true American patriots that way who weren't even accused of any violence.
Right.
And particularly pre-trial. You're not allowed to punish someone pre-trial.
Right. Well, and we know that there still are people, aren't there still people that are in solitary confinement to this day?
There are people incarcerated pre-trial, and many of them get put in and out of solitary confinement for whatever bogus reasons they can think of. For example, someone will go and make a phone call, and someone will put them on a Twitter space or some kind of an interview, and then they'll accuse them of trying to communicate with other inmates. And then they'll say, oh, well, that's against the rules, so we're going to lock you up in solitary.
And wasn't that Jake Lang, I think, that they threw back into solitary confinement?
He's one of many.
Right. This is
John
not
Strand
America.
It happened to him as well. You probably know of him.
Yeah, well, actually, John Strand's, Dr. Simone Gold goes to our church. And so what we do know about John Strand is he was actually at the Capitol that day to be her bodyguard. And
That's right.
She was supposed to speak after the event at the Ellipse, and everybody was kind of funneled to this other area. Dr. Simone and he went into the Capitol. He was watching her back as her bodyguard, and she gave a speech and they left. That was it. And he now is in jail for how long?
Several years, 3 or 4.
This is not just. So where does your case go from here?
So my case has basically been adjudicated in terms of I took the plea agreement, I was sentenced, I served 2 months in prison. I'm finished with that. Now I have up to 1 year of supervised release that ends near the end of August. And during that time, we have appealed part of the sentencing that has to do with computer monitoring. And the appeals court ruled in our favor, and it came back to the DC District Court, and he had us file a show cause filing, which anyone can view on Court Listener, for example. There's also been a few Epoch Times articles about it by Joe Hanneman, and some quotes from me and my lawyer in there. And we have an upcoming hearing. And so apart from that, I probably shouldn't comment on it since it's still being adjudicated. But basically, He wants us to explain why he shouldn't reimpose computer monitoring.
So what has this done to your life, Daniel? Like, what has this done to your family?
Well, for one thing, my mom has basically become a full-time activist, spending her time to support the other J6ers. So, you know, we've become a part of the community. Definitely love that we're meeting these people, but we just wish it weren't under this circumstances, because it's really, really tough emotionally, especially. I've had to compartmentalize and not really think or feel too deeply in regards to the other J6ers, because, for example, my mom, every time there's a new sentencing, every time there's a new arrest, every time there's a new conviction, it just hits her really hard in the heart. And there's too many families that this is happening to, that it's just so devastating. I wouldn't be able to get anything done if I were really processing all of the emotions from this. It's a very terrible thing that they've been doing to these people, most of whom are not guilty at all, and some of whom are just not as guilty as they say they are.
Right. Well, and understand, though, I think in the grand scheme of things, God's going to use this to the good. That there's a reason that this is happening. And as you've seen, there is a spiritual delusion on half of this country. We need them to wake up to see how extreme these persecutions, and I'm going to call them persecutions, are. You know, I'm so thankful that I got to meet you a couple weeks ago, and that's why you're here. And I think that the only way that we shatter this darkness is truth.
That's right.
Where do you know what I mean? And I'm going to be praying for you daily, and we need to pray that people wake up. As far as your independent journalism, are you still able to go ahead and report on things, or have they limited your voice in any way?
So I'm actually not only able to, I'm required to, because part of my supervised release conditions entail that I continue my work, and that's what my job is. So it's kind of ironic, because in ways they're trying to, you know, do things that would actually hamper that type of job, work, and career, such as spying, because many people, maybe they wanted to say something off the record, they wouldn't want to talk to me. So, you know, it makes things harder, but, you know, so far it technically hasn't been implemented yet. So hopefully, you know, everything continues in my favor. But, you know, Jesus himself said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And I know that's a very spiritual, esoteric thing that has to do mainly with soteriology and us being able to go to heaven and things like this. But I also think it has an application in the real world, and I really hope it has an application with the January 6ers, because I've been doing as much as I can to show the truth about what happened on January 6th. Even though people accuse me of disinformation, I'm showing raw footage. I'm showing body-worn camera footage. I'm showing CCTV footage. I'm showing footage that people took that day, people live streamed, people posted online, and I'm just showing what actually happened. So I believe that the truth actually helps January 6ers, and I don't think that that footage should be sensitive or hidden. I believe that it should be shown because it's exculpatory, and many of these people, they should be freed based on the actual evidence. Unfortunately, it's not the evidence that's actually in play. It's bias, it's revenge, and it's, you know, left-wing political activism happening in the juries and, frankly, the judges as well. And I wish that this isn't the way that our country would be, but I think there's been a full communist takeover.
I do too. It's a color revolution, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier, even with what's happened to President Trump. I believe that there's a spiritual delusion across half this country, and the only way that we break that is the truth. So I appreciate what you're doing 100%, and I support you, and I'm always going to be here for you. Is there anything that you would like to say to the people of America that still have not woken up to the fact that we've got a weaponized government?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone should go to stophate.com/J6, check out the documentary, see the truth for yourself, and then look at our calls to action. We have people that will have, we have a prayer group that people can join. We have ways to see the prisoners' addresses so you can write them letters and encourage them. We have ways where you can find the fundraisers and actually help them support them, whether it be their legal funds or to help support their families since they're incarcerated and can't work. And so I think it's very important that people know the truth and then act on it. So I want to activate people. And if anyone wants to, they can become a pen pal by going to livingheroes.org and putting your email address in. We want you guys to sign up and, commit to sending letters regularly to a J6er. And we can assign you someone to send them to, or you can pick someone out from the list. And we really just want to activate people into taking action and really being supportive, especially of the patriots who are being railroaded during this time. And they're hostages. They're not just prisoners.
Yeah, they are hostages. I think about Enrique Tarrio getting 22 years in prison, and he wasn't even in D.C. It's right. Ridiculous. But anyways, could you give those websites one more time?
StopHate.com/J6. It's not the number 8, it's the word hate, like the opposite of love. StopHate.com/J6. And then AmnestyNational.org, we have that's running Living Heroes, livingheroes.org. That's where you can put your email address in, and you can sign up to become a pen pal to send letters to these patriots, to these political hostages.
Okay. And if you want people to find you, where can they find you on social media?
So Daniel, Daniel, that's my first name, Goodwyn, it's a Y instead of an I. Daniel Goodwyn, danielgoodwyn.com. My handle is @DanielGoodwyn or @Daniel.Goodwyn on Instagram. I'm across all the social medias. You can find the links on my website, danielgoodwyn.com.
You know what, Daniel, I appreciate you. We're going to be praying for you, and I'm going to tell everybody I know to sign up to be pen pals to the J6ers. I'm praying to the Lord that this lawfare ends, because if it doesn't, we're not going to have a country. So thank you so much for coming on. I wish I could give you a hug, but you're way over there, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, all right, sounds good. God bless. Thanks for having me on.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
California